the end again. But my name is Mike Woolard. I work for a technology organization up by Cleveland. I work on their security team there. I do things like policies, risk assessments, pen testing of our web applications we build, consulting with all our different teams, and then most importantly, I work on our the security awareness training that goes on within our organization. This talk here is actually part of a larger talk that I've given a couple times. The parts that we're going to be focusing on here with this talk is more about the concept of the engagement, the concept of why this works better than a straight lecture, a straight paperwork sign-off type deal. As I was telling her before, this talk is recorded already in the other formats that I've given it, so that if you see this again, it might be a different talk than what you see today. But I really want to start out with the how and the why, and then we'll get into the tools and what we use, why I do this training this way. Not trying to steal anybody's thunder. Here comes Adrian himself. I'm just about to talk about Iron Geek, but these talks, engagement type talks, are up on irongeek.com. This talk, like I was saying, is up there as well. There's plenty of information out there about engagement training. Bill Gardner and Valerie Thomas have a whole chapter in the book dedicated to it. Today's talk is just simply my experience with it, why I feel this is important, what we did, what worked, what didn't work, and specifically the why of it all. So this all started out probably about a year ago. I attended a Bill Semp talk on developers, care, and feeding. And in the talk, he got into the reality of what developers hear and see, and what the way that security professionals present the information and how they accept it. And it goes well beyond just developers and the whole web application development cycle, because you could apply it to our marketing teams, our customer care teams, all our different teams throughout the organization on ways of improving our communication with them, and not just simply telling them how, but actually showing them and explaining why it's important. To give you a little context, my organization is about 335 employees. We do have a branch here down in Columbus, but I'm going to be talking about our participation in the events that we did. I'm going to be talking about dollars and prizes and everything we gave out. So just to roll back to your organization, just to give you an idea of where we stand with it all. To start out, the issue at hand, it's no secret that security is not the core priority when building widgets, web applications, whatever the case may be. We put shortcuts into place. We'll come back and solve problems later in our first release, our first update. And finally, developers are not incentivized to make security a priority. And as much as I can put a whole presentation just around that last bullet point alone, the one thing I want to point out here is that none of this really says that we don't care. At CodeMash this past January, Bill Semp and Jim Manico had an 8-hour, 2 days, 8-hour each day pre-compiler on security coding. Well attended, across the board. So I can't say that we don't care. Obviously we do. I think the problem is more that we just don't prioritize. Security is something that is more or less an add-on. And that's a shame, because in 2016, we have daily, if not, around the clock, multiple breaches all the time. In the SANS survey, 20% of people came back saying, what does the role of security play in application developments? There is no security. 25% say it comes in after we've already deployed to production. And 30% say that security is fundamental, but is at the discretion of the development team to involve the InfoSec team at any given point. Reading between the lines of all this, you're more or less saying that there's no cohesiveness. 75% of people saying that there's no cohesiveness between security and the development process. And like I said, this is not a problem of the IT team, of the QA team, of the security team. It's a problem of the life cycle in general. Something that security has to be brought into. It's no secret that humans are the weakest link of any organization. We don't patch, we don't configure, we make mistakes, and tongue-in-cheek, some of us flat out don't care. But if you're going to have a security awareness program, human security awareness training has to be the central point of it all, central piece. You have to train your people, ISO standards required, audit standards required, compliance standards, they all require it. But if you're simply checking the box that you do it because you hand out policies once a year, you meet with your new employees for a half hour at the very beginning, we're not cutting it. Awareness has to be thought-provoking, it has to be engaging. You have to teach your people to think critically through security. You can't just teach them what they need to do. Passwords have to be 8 characters. You have to help them to think why, we have to protect this widget in that way, protect that widget in that way. At OE Connection, we titled our security awareness program to Think Like a Hacker. And when we hear that, a lot of us think, maybe a know the threat type of, theme to it. And yes, we did look at, how web applications are being breached, how different, breaches and that type of stuff go down, and we bring that back, internalize it, and try to make our side better. But when it comes to, knowing what a hacker is, and, hacking is simply just thinking critically through any problem in front of you with logic, with, holistically about what it is, what's the challenge, what's this in front of you, and how can I get around it? And in terms of web application hacking, we're simply applying logic to our code, to our algorithms, in order to not only know everything our web applications should do, but what is possible for them to do. Hackers do things just for no other reason, just to see what happens. They want to not only know what, but they want to know how, they want to know why. This way, because that why is very important to them, because it's the difference between security knowledge and security awareness. As Kelvin points out here, our knowledge comes from years and years of just being passed down. It's a memorization of facts, something that somebody learned days, months, weeks, centuries ago that is just being passed down to us. But until we actually understand why something is, until we understand how something works, we're only regurgitating what somebody else already has learned. I do want to play a short 10-second video here on this point.
A lot of teachers will just tell you we don't really have school systems that encourage the children to think of a problem and what could a solution be. No, just to identify the solution you were taught in this chapter and use that one. So we don't teach thinking as much as we teach, rigorous rote. And intelligence is not defined as somebody having a brain that can think and consider all the possibilities and come up with the best solution. Oh, no. Intelligence is saying the exact same things as everyone else. You read the same newspaper articles, you watch the same news shows, you read the same books, and now you can say exactly the same things about how the world works, so you all know you're a group. It's almost like a religion. And we're all the same, and we're intelligent because I say it and you say it. You're intelligent, so I'm intelligent. And we never really have a real good way of measuring, are you really thinking and putting it together and coming up with your own solutions? No. We don't define that as intelligent. We often define it as dumb.
So we're an industry, the security industry is based on people that got into it because they like to think outside the box. They like to think of problems holistically. I mean, we're not taught everything we know about security. It's something that we got our hands dirty on, something we got involved with. But the problem is, we turn around and we try to train based on facts, based on knowledge. Hackers are problem solvers. That's the road we should be going with our training. Some use it for good, some use it for bad. But in the end, hacking always makes anything better. We just had in the news a few weeks ago about somebody was able to hack Facebook accounts because the beta site wasn't fully protected or whatever the case may be. I don't remember exact details of it. But it's something that we went back and looked at and made sure that our beta sites and our QA sites and all stuff that were made public. Anytime that we see any of these news stories about different things that are going on, we always learn from them. So whether it was their intention to protect it or their intention to bypass it, we're always learning, we're always understanding it. Now my job at OEC is to pen test our internal applications. I work with our QA team before we go out to production. We pen test it, we go through the whole steps of trying to make sure. Now, I'm not exactly just throwing things at the wall, just trying whatever. I'm investing myself in, I'm learning how our web applications talk to each other, how our web applications talk to the back end, how the databases work, how everything works. I understand the whole process from beginning to end of how our web application works, so that I can find the problems with the design of it. And then in the end, I'm going to either take those back to our team and say, hey, these need to be fixed because there's a problem here. Or if I was on the Black Hat side, maybe I'm going to try to use those to bypass and get the database to dump itself, whatever the case may be. But in the end, hacking will always make things better. So we've had previous security leaders and stuff talk about how Nikola Tesla hacked electricity. Either Lovelace hacked math and logic to write the first computer algorithms. Steve Wozniak tinkered with computer chips and all that. MacGyver hacked science. But the point of all this is not that I want you to be able to go back to your teams and say, hey, we're going to solve rocket ships stranded in space. The point is that if you have an engaging security training, if you focus on thinking critically through security problems, about making it part of your culture, then hopefully you could then affect real change. If it weren't for any of those people that I listed here, we might not all be here in this room today. We might be working in factories still. We might be doing all these things. It took all these people before us to actually think outside the box to get our industry and get our companies where they are today. Back to Valerie and Bill's book on information security awareness training. They have a whole chapter in there just dedicated to having to be engaging. The lecture is dead, and when our security is only done through lectures, only done through videos, whatever the case may be, and we only focus on policies, procedures, and we keep it very narrow and very focused because we're only talking about our security knowledge. The very important thing to remember is that our employees have a job of their own to do. Their main goal is to, for an accountant to work on accounting things, for customer care to make sure the customer is taken care of. They have a priority of where they need to be inside their job, inside their roles. And security, if it's not engaging, if it's not thought-provoking, it's just seen as an add-on, it's added complexity to their job. We created a culture of box checkers. What is the bare minimum I need to do to get the job done? And I've seen on Twitter about how we need to stop coddling and we need to not have excuses. And as much as I want to agree with that, I don't agree with the undertone of the or else, because a lot of that or else also falls back on us. It's very easy to blame our users for all our problems. But the reality is they're not sitting in these summits, they're not sitting at B-sides, they're not sitting at the various conferences that go on around the country, they're not watching Iron Geek videos, they're not getting involved in various Twitter and IRC and all the other avenues that we have for security. We're in this 24/7, immersed in it around the clock. They're simply looking at security as, what do I have to do in order to not get fired? And when you have a culture like that, who's afraid of holding up a project, because they're not following the checkboxes, of somebody who sees a problem, but they, the underlying tone of the company is that we'll just, take care of that later. We're not going to hold up this project because the priority is to get it out the door the fastest. You're going to have gates built like this. The checklist says that the gate needs to have iron bars and a lock on it. Gate 1.0 is pushed out the door. After a week, it gets breached because someone reached their hand through. So checklist, we add to the checklist that the gate needs to have a screen on the back end. But at the same time, when gate 2.0 is pushed out the door, someone realized that, hey, we're still able to jump over the top. But we're pushing that stuff out the door. We're getting these gates built. We're not engaged in actually protecting this thing. We're just engaged in following what's on the checklist. What I'm trying to say is that if we get our culture to say, look at this gate holistically, look at this gate from a security perspective, let's make a decision as a company that we need to protect it, up to this standard. We're not just following checklists. We're not afraid to do things to hold up a project. We're not afraid of, actually implementing security policies. We're actually trying to affect real change within our companies. And I'm not saying that checklists, lectures don't work. I'm just saying that you need to have it as part of a bigger part of your culture it just needs to be one little piece of it, not the whole security awareness training. My engagement problem came to a head back last October. Back up in Cleveland, we had an OWASP meeting and all on tools and procedures for securing .NET applications. And at the time, I was building a program around demonstrating the OWASP Top 10, demonstrating how to protect against it, the whole 9 yards of it all. And I thought, this is great. This, we'll do this training. We'll go to this. I'll bring some developers. I'll bring some QA people to this OWASP meeting, and we'll come back and do this training. August, I sent the emails out saying, hey, who wants to attend with me? I got all these responses that it's awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come September, one person was able to attend, me. The problem is, people had priorities that day that came up. They had other things that happened that, the priority of the day, the priority of, yeah, it sounds good, but, something else comes up, I'll go ahead and switch, do something else. So I had to switch gears. I had to think differently. If I wanted training to be meaningful, I couldn't just simply rely on these, the different lectures and everything that I've always done up to that point. Because, the lectures weren't fun. Obviously, when I talked about bringing people to this lecture at the OWASP meeting, obviously something else came up. The priorities changed. We can make it mandatory, but we see how well that works. So that's when I turned to gaming. I wanted to build it in a more engaging way. I wanted to be able to say, this wasn't just a simple, let's sit here and, in front of a classroom type environment. Let's actually do something that's more fun, more proactive with what we're doing. So we played, the month of October, we played various games throughout the whole October, and then it all culminated in this, what we called Hack Jam. On October 28th, we ran this 2-hour event, Capture the Flag tournament. We had some lock sports, lock picking contests, crypto type games. And while that all was going on during this event in our cafe, we also did some discussion on social engineering, on why it's important to set passwords for your screensaver, lock your computers. We did some Wi-Fi and stolen password examples, why it's important to set passwords and all that. But it all started with this little poster that I put up. So when I got back from that OWASP meeting that no one else attended with me, I went to my marketing team and said, hey, I need a logo. I'm going to be doing this training. Later that afternoon, I just simply posted this picture. It had some little game there. I was going to play a little crypto game I was going to play there. It just had the date and a little information. But I knew I was onto something because as soon as I posted that, within 10 minutes of posting it, I had people at my desk stopping me in the hall. I had people email me. I had the conversation started of what's going on, what is all this? I've caught people's eye. I had people, somewhat excited that there's something new, something different going on out there. I talked to probably about 2 weeks later, just before I posted this, I got stopped by our marketing team and said, hey, we got people on the business side that are interested. We got people, on the accounting and customer care and all that want to know, they're trying to play along. Like I said, I was getting stopped in the hall by all sorts of people. So what I did was I posted this picture and I posted, this poster talking about the actual event. We're going to hold a Capture the Flag tournament. At the time, I had no idea how to do it. I was just going to do it. I was probably about a month away. I was just rolling with it, trying to figure it out because, I just knew what I was doing at the time wasn't working. But instead of concentrating the message on, we're going to be doing this training and then, oh, by the way, there's a Capture the Flag tournament, I posted everything about, the prizes, the events, the Capture the Flag, tournament itself. And oh, by the way, if you want to participate in these games and this stuff, we got this training to teach you how hackers break into web applications. I embellished that a little bit, obviously, but I was going to give them training on how this OWASP Top 10 worked, how to protect against it. But I wanted to make it sound fun. I wanted to make it sound cool. I wanted people to be interested in it. And when I posted the sign-up sheet for this, I was expecting 20 people at most to sign up from the original training of all this. I ended up getting 70 people signed up for the 4-day or 4-week training. 8 of the first 10 people actually came from the non-technical side of our company. I had people, like I said, I had people from our accounting staff, from our customer care. People I was not expecting to be interested in this at all. When I posted the sign about signing up for the actual tournament, I got about 35, 40 people signed up for that, and 6 out of the first 10 were from the non-technical side. So I kind of had more people. I knew I had the attention of the company. I had something that I wanted to build on. I didn't want to lose that. So what I did is I actually made 2 different pathways. So we had our technical team, and then we had our, what I called our greenhorn side of the tournament. Those were the people that I set up more training for. I set up, people who never even saw HTML code before, or scripts and all that type of stuff. This is the actual tournament itself. So we set up more training, culminated in this event. We did the kickoff of the hack of the contest. We got into Google Hack, and we got into Locksport, and all these things I'm about to show you how they work. If you go back to my website that I had at the beginning, I'll post it again at the end, a WordPress site, I get into a lot more detail of how these games work and all that type of stuff. But the USB game. So while we're going through all these various training, the events going on, I had put out these 4 USB drives identical to each other, and I said, come up, pick one. 2 of them had a text file on it that said this is a clean drive. 2 of them had a text file on it that says congratulations, you infected the whole network. The whole point of this was just simply to teach people about the dangers of plugging in a USB drive that you've never seen before. The prizes were small. We just gave out $10 Starbucks gift card. We did 3 of those, one at a time. People came up, tried it out on their own. We played a crypto game. So during the Capture the Flag tournament, one of the modules that was played, I'll bring it up here. One of the modules that was played was about security misconfiguration. Oh, that's not part 1. I'm not going to find it right now, but one of the games that was played was talking about MD5 hashing and the point of it wasn't to teach people about MD5 hashing and all that type of stuff. The point of it was just to get them interested in what I'm talking about, because we started talking about SSL scripts and what HTTPS is and what to look out for and all that type of stuff and how that works and the mechanics of it all. So while I was talking about that, we played a game like this, where it was just, just a simple crypto game. It was just a simple crypto game, just to keep people interested. Again, we gave out another gift card just to say, hey, if you solve the puzzle, we'll give you a gift card. And then finally, we played this Capture the Flag security misconfiguration game. This is what I was going to show you here. So we got into why web applications sometimes get hit, why servers sometimes get hit, because we don't change default passwords. We don't do things like setting proper passwords. Just the configuration of it. So we got into that whole conversation of what that is. And then at the end, we played this game of trying to guess what the default password is for this example. To give you a quick little run through here of what you're seeing, with Security Shepherd, which is free from OWASP, the whole top section of each of these modules just gives you a brief little rundown of what the module is all about, so what security misconfiguration is, what port data validation is. So if you're interested in actually doing any type of web application, Capture the Flag, these are awesome tools for getting involved in that, and I'll get into a little bit deeper into what these are here at the end of this talk. But so we had just another little game, again, another little $10 gift card. And then finally we did something that had nothing to do with training or anything like that. It was just more or less for fun. We're trying to defeat bugs in our code. We're trying to do something just silly, and so we just got a box of crickets, handed them out, and said, hey, if you eat this box of crickets, we'll give you a $10 gift card. We got 2 people at our event to do it, and then when I gave this talk at CodeMash, a 3rd person volunteered there. So it's just fun, just something silly, stupid, nothing major. So the 2 major games that we played, throughout the month of October, and then culminated at the event itself. One of them was a screensaver game. So we put posters up around the building over the last couple months talking about the importance of locking your computers and all that. But what we did is we played the screensaver game, so if you caught another employee who didn't have their computer locked, you got 2 points from it, they lost the points. Managers were 3 points, directors were 4 points. And initially I had executives in it, but then I started getting pictures like this of looking in through blinds, and I thought that was kind of creepy. So I took executives out of the game altogether. But you'll see, I mean, we got good numbers there. A lot of people were playing. At the start of it, day one, I had 57 submissions, 45. After 2 weeks, I was down to 3 or 4 submissions a day. We doubled the prize at the very end. We bumped it up to so multiple people could win. And that kind of bumped the numbers up here at the end a little bit more. But what I also found out is people started playing in teams. They started hacking the system to play the game. And so that's why these numbers kind of got inflated. But if I were to play this game again, I would stop after 2 weeks. I kind of got the results that I wanted. People started thinking about it, started locking their computer. They started having fun with it, set their screensavers as no points for you. And I got this email from one of our admins saying that, just long story short, that basically she saw somebody down by our refrigerator all of a sudden take off, go running back to their desk. And when they came back, she asked them, what's going on, what's wrong? And they said that they forgot to lock their computer. And she thought, well, aren't you taking it to the extreme? And he said, yeah, I am, but I love to play games. And I thought that was really just encompassing of everything that I was trying to do here, that people love to do these type of things, whether you're on the business side, technology side, whatever the case may be. Competition runs so much stuff in our life. If you like sports, you got competition. If you like video games, you got competition. If you're into history, war history, whatever the case may be, there's always that competition there of good versus evil, whatever the case may be, that really drives a lot of what we do. Next major thing we did was this lock sport. We purchased a whole bunch of these just training locks and lockpick sets, and we ran a little just mini tournament within our cafe there. Just head-to-head tournaments. First person to pick the lock wins, moves on to the next round. We gave out gift cards. We gave out second place. We ended up collecting more money, handed out second place. But as you see, none of this stuff is really that expensive. Overall, we raised, I think, close to $600 for this whole event. $300 was spent on prizes. I think I gave out 19 prizes, totaling like $290. The main event here was the Hack Jam CTF. Again, we just had 2 screens, one set up with the WebEx so everybody can compete and watch what was going on within the cafe from our one WebEx site, and then the other screen had a connection back to the people who are participating in the actual Capture the Flag tournament. They could keep an eye on the scoreboard and everything else. We had all sorts of fun with people showing up. These were the packets that we handed out. The packets included their credentials to get logged in. They included the candy and other little giveaways that we had. We made up stickers. We made up, if you noticed here, everybody that participated in the training, we gave out these little karate headbands too. Here it is at the bottom, actually. The Karate Kid headbands make them honorary security ninjas. They can participate right from their desk. And you see everybody wearing the headbands they liked. But it was just a lot of just silly things that we did that just really stuck and really got people interested in having fun with it all. At the end, we gave out these prizes. I think the prize itself cost me like $10 to put together. It was just a shadow box, a little lock that we posted in there, and maybe next year I make it more official, make it more professional or whatever you want to say looking. But it was just something for fun, just something that somebody could post under their desk to have fun with. Now everything after this point is more or less just the tools and stuff that we used. Is there any questions on anything we covered so far? So OWASP, if you're not familiar, it's the Open Web Application Security Project. They have all these tools, all these different cheat sheets, standards, documentation. The list goes on, and what's nice about it is Anybody can get involved. Anybody can, donate time, energy, whatever the case may be, to a project. And all the projects that come out of OWASP, including what I just showed you with the Security Shepherd and the other tools I'll show here in a second, they're all free. The WebGoat's free. The Security Shepherd, the Zap, it's all free. Now, what Zap is basically, if anybody's familiar with Burp Suite, Fiddler, any of those like proxy type tools, it's basically a attack proxy that allows you to manipulate information. Now, keep in mind, I had a lot of people who were not familiar with web applications, how they worked. And so if you're going to do this type of training, this Z attack proxy, the Zap, is a very good tool to use because everything is so just elementary with it. Everything that has to do with get parameter URLs is here, cookies are up here, host parameters are down here, the website that you're attacking, all the history and what you do with the breakpoints and all that is down here. Everything is on one page for them, so doing the training from my perspective is so much easier than using any of those other tools because it's just simply staying on one page. I'm not jumping from tab to tab, I'm not jumping around. Here's the actual CTF application we use itself. It's called Security Shepherd. As an admin, I have all sorts of ability to manipulate this, configure it however I want. I could set it up as a CTF. I could set it up as just straight training. Because probably next time through this, since we use this as the CTF for this year, next year I'll use this as more of like a training tool. But there's cheat sheets in here. There's all sorts of stuff in here that will allow you to do the training, do everything in a more interactive way. Like I said, everything up here is just exactly explain what security misconfiguration is. Then at the bottom it gets into what you need to do to solve this puzzle.
Admin.
Did that then?
No, I meant your user and type of.
Oh, that's probably not. I don't remember exactly what that is now. But if you get 3 tries, and then you get a hint, and then I also have a cheat sheet I could turn on here. And I'll knock it off. That's why it's not working. So basically, after they crack one of the modules, they get this little key at the end. They just plug that in up here at the top into the results, and get their name up on the scoreboard. They get points for it. They get little medals here, all that type of stuff. Like I said, it's a rewarding way of playing, of teaching, both for myself and for them. It's not a simple sit here, let's learn about this stuff and never actually see it in action. They get points, they get rewarded for what they do. At the end, we get prizes, all that type of stuff. The WebGoat is also available. That's more just a web-based, so they can take their laptops home and install it at home. It's just another broken web application. And then the BWAP is the actual tool we use. That's actually provided by itsecgames.com. It's just basically a way of training on all these modules on the OWASP Top 10, everything that we did for this Capture the Flag tournament. As I got into this, I talked about the money, but I went to my team, my marketing team, and said, hey, I need some money from training budget. I went to put out the word to a couple of our various vendors in the area and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this training. This is the way I want to do it. Are you interested in getting involved? And I got some money from Secure State. Again, I raised about $600, which is very budgetable for our next year, which we budgeted already. I'm going to reach out to a lot of these organizations that now that I've already run through this, I showed them what we're doing. I showed them how we're doing it. I've got a lot more people interested in getting involved, donating some time, money, people to do the training for us, doing money to get shirts, get the bigger prizes, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be even bigger this year. At the end, 75% of people said they stayed the entire time. Obviously we had things going on, 2 hours, pulling people away from work isn't necessary, but 75 I thought was a good number. 85% said they didn't play this year, but they're interested in doing it next year, and 100% said to do it again. And then this note that I got said it's definitely more engaging to learn about security through these events than through lectures. 10 out of 10 would sign up again. One win that I got out of this is that our CRM administrator, she actually played on the greenhorn side, the non-technical side of all this. We did all the training, we did everything with that side of learning how to read HTML, how to read through all the configurations, all that type of stuff, how to use the tools. She took that back to her CRM, started playing with it, found a bug in the code, bug in our misconfiguration that basically allowed people who should have had read-only to a certain page be able to have admin functions on the page. We fixed that hole, but I thought that was a win for this whole system right there. Going forward for 2016, we're going to do this again. This is just more of a throw-in of what one of the different ways that we can play the games and all that through Get Kahoot. Basically, from you and the audience, you just go to the websites. I give you a pin. You could play along on this game. So when we do our all-hands meetings, when we do all our various lectures and that type of stuff, we can also play games right there with the audience, right from their laptops or tablets, their phones. So it's just an idea of something to do. Any questions so far on anything at this point? So I just have one last video to play.
Go to places where you can learn these things. I mean, how many of you think it would be cool to be able to pick a lock? That's awesome! Right? Look at that's like most of the crowd. How come y'all don't know how to pick locks? Why? Did you forget how Google works? You need the tools? I'll give them to you. I don't care. I'll bring down my backpack and have everything in it. If it gives you one little stitch of inspiration to try and go do it.
I think that final line there is pretty important. One little stitch of inspiration to try and go do it, because so much of the time we want to focus our energy on the physical, the training of very specific things to do, but I think we need to learn about how to inspire, how to get people engaged, wanting to do it for themselves. I did the lock picking not to teach people how to pick locks. I got questioned on it by our executives, all that type of stuff, and why are we doing this? But it was more or less just to get people engaged. I had more people at my desk wanting to play with our lock picks 4, 5, 6 times a day, people I've never met throughout the company, but it started the conversation with them. They came by my desk, wanted to play, they sat down, we talked for 10, 15 minutes, what's going on in their area, things I would never have found out before, but because we started that conversation, because we inspired and got people engaged in wanting to find out about these things, about this game and all that, it just opened the doors for me from my perspective. I'm only one person on our security team. I have an intern, but for me to be throughout my whole company, I got to rely on them more as much as they rely on me to secure things. So that's my story. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up at any of these. Yep.
Did you find that by offering the rewards got more people engaged?
Yeah, definitely. The rewards were nothing big, but it got more people. Hey, you could win. Initially when I did the CTF, the capture the flag, it was only a $25 winner. It was one winner. It was $25. Later on, after I got some money from from all the other companies and everything, we bumped it up to $75 and the little plaque award thing, and I got more. It just built. I don't know that it was the end-all be-all. I think people still would have played, but I probably got a handful more, and it was just something, thanks for playing, and get their attention for next year. I probably, when we were doing like the things like the USB games and the bug eating and all that, I don't think people probably wouldn't have played as much. People were kind of like, what's going on here? But then when we said, hey, I got a $10 gift card for, actually, go back to the one. I have a $10 gift card for this lock, or the bug eating. Where's it? This one. She put in there a list of things I won't do for free coffee is short. 8 crickets, at the Code Match talk. It helps. I don't know that it's the end all, but I mean, it definitely helps, and you know, it's not as very expensive, so it doesn't have to be at least. Okay, thank you.